podcast. Hello. Can you hear me? Everybody? I think you can comment or wave if you can hear me. We should be good. Perfect! Thank you, Leonie. Okay, so we are live. I'm Kasba and this is Maria, which you probably already know.
Hello everybody, Sabah here.
We are starting the live and Saliah should join anytime. Let's see, I think we have a request.
Yes, here.
Exactly, so...
Yep.
Always happens.
First time doing a live. We hope we can do it often, more, inshallah. But yeah, as you guys know, today we are going to have a special guest here.
Yes!
Voila!
Hi!
Hi, Saliah.
How's it going?
Good. We're doing a small introduction here. So, I'm Marian Kasba. We are now in Marrakesh, based here, and today I'm talking to the followers. Actually, today I'm going to have this amazing producer and DJ from Lebanon, based in UK, right? You're in UK right now?
Yeah.
Saliah, talking to us about her career experiences and another topics we are going to see later. Maybe you want to do this introduction about what we are going to talk today?
Yeah, sure. So thank you all for joining. It's amazing to see already so many people live. And of course, thank you, Saliah, for joining us. We will keep it, we try to keep it under 30 minutes, the call, just to also, not keep it too long, but we would like to tackle a couple of things that are important right now in the industry, and especially also for the Sound Sisters and our students, because I guess what we want to do is, of course, teach and have more women DJs in the scene, but also we want to inspire and motivate people to play more. So we'll do a little introduction to get to know Saliah a bit more, so how she started, what she finds important as a DJ, and then we'll go into more the mixing part, so how she prepares for her gigs, what's important to keep in mind while DJing, and so on. And then the second part will be more about how it is once you know how to play, how is it to gain visibility, and what's important to kind of do to promote yourself and to make an impact in the industry. So that will be a little bit the schedule, or let's say the agenda of today. And feel free to ask questions in the comments if you have anything special. We'll try to find some time at the end to answer some questions. But hopefully we cover a lot already with the agenda. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it. I don't know, Saliah, if you want to add something or...
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here, and sorry I couldn't make it in person for obvious reasons at the moment. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'll go ahead and introduce myself. So I'm Saliah. I'm a British Lebanese music producer and DJ, and I mix between Arabic and global sounds.
Very nice. And so you mainly DJ, you mainly produce. How would you kind of define yourself as an artist, let's say?
I think honestly, the way I view my DJ sets is I'm producing a whole set. So I would view myself as an artist as opposed to a quote unquote DJ or music producer. Like, I produce a lot of my own edits, and whenever I'm approaching a DJ set, I'm always looking at it at how can I make two tracks become something new. So it's not necessarily looking at just blending between one track into another. Like, what can I do between those two tracks to make something new and fresh and exciting on the stage?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely super important, right? So we want to, as a DJ, you always want to bring something new to the table. So definitely a good approach. Nice. What would you say? I mean, I guess also part of the intro. How did you actually start? And I guess a lot of people, when they start DJing, the first question is, how do I start? Like,
Yeah,
what
how
do,
can I do it?
what is the first step? Yeah.
So I think it's important to ask in these two moments, how do you start as DJ and producer? Maybe it was together, but maybe you start with one and then you move to another. So
Sure.
we can talk a little.
Yeah. So I mean, my journey started. I was really young. I started when I was 15, and I started on vinyls, actually, on turntables, because back then we didn't have CDJs, so it wasn't even a thing. And I was in the drum and bass scene for a long time, solely mixing drum and bass, but I was always really interested in other music genres and always listening to other music genres at the same time. I guess I just kind of had a group of friends around me that were always DJing, and we just used it as a way to kind of escape after school. So it was just a nice kind of collective thing, I suppose. And then when I was 18, I finally got my first gig because that's when I was legally allowed into the clubs. And then it kind of kick-started from there, really. I just kept it on the side continuously. I was never really able to make it a full-time thing until this year, until I did Boiler Room. So it was always a part-time thing, always doing it on the side. And I think also the industry has drastically changed for DJs and stuff. I think there is way more opportunity now than there was back then. So it's a lot easier to kind of find yourself in the market now. But yeah, I was always doing it on the side. So it was always a side gig up until earlier this year. And then with music production, I actually started in the pandemic. It's something I always wanted to do. And when we went into lockdown, I was like, I need to do something. So I just decided to go for it. And it was really lucky that I did, really, because it's changed everything.
So I think there is two change moments that we speak about. The Boiler Room was a moment to change, like when you start to dedicate just fully for the music after that. And also when you start to produce, before was also a moment like that changed your career a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. It shifted things because it enabled me to make my own mashups, my own tracks, to bring something fresh to the table, to produce original music. Usually I'm always just taking the vocals of a track and then producing everything underneath from scratch. So I rarely do the kind of mashup thing, but because I like to do those things live. But the production side is, yeah, it just gives me an edge, really.
Amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, talking about the experiences, how would you summarize your boiler room experience? I guess we all want to know a little bit about how that was, because definitely it's important. It was important for you in your career, but also for us, and to see you play was definitely amazing. So how would you summarize that?
It was, yeah, the best. Like, I don't know, I can't even explain it. It was obviously shout out to Nuria for putting it together, and there was an amazing lineup. It was myself, Lama, who's a British Iraqi DJ who opened up. There was Pikajin, who's a Tunisian DJ based in Switzerland, and there's Moving Still, who is based in Ireland. And obviously Nuria. So it was a really nice experience for us to all come together and show what we'd all been individually working on. And I kind of approached it as like, this is my opportunity to tell my story as a musician. And I always look at every single gig as, this could potentially be my last. So that's the way I approach everything. I'm like, I need to give it all that I've got. Mm-hmm. And I remember being super nervous before I went up. And I just told myself, Saliah, you've either got it or you don't. So this is it.
No pressure.
No pressure. So yeah, it was I just didn't expect, I guess, the reactions as well from the tracks that I'd been really working on and focusing on. The approach I took specifically for Boiler Room was, I want to try and have a balance of showing my skills, but also really try and fit in my own produced remixes. Like, how many of those can I get in? And just to show my versatility as a DJ, somebody who's interested in music, someone who has experience in mixing lots of different genres, and to show that we don't have to be put in a box. Like, you don't have to stick to one genre. And that's just the way that I think anyway. I really can't, you know, even if I'm listening to music day to day, I can't just sit there and just listen to one genre. I've got to skip through. So it was a reflection of myself.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. And I guess it's a really great bridge to the next, let's say, pillar of the discussion. How do you prepare for something like that? And it's something for a gig in general, but also for Boiler Room, I guess. It also came as when we had a small discussion with the Sound Sisters on what they would like to ask you. One of the questions that came up was, how do you not get nervous? Like, how do you gain confidence, and how do you perform even if there's pressure, and not be scared to be on stage, right? And it's really nice to hear, and which is something I also told them. It's like, you will always be nervous, you know?
Always be nervous, yeah.
Exactly.
You will always be nervous. It never goes away.
Yeah.
And honestly, you know, my relationship with nerves was so much different before, and now I approach them as, you know, I want to say to anybody actually that experiences nerves that it's totally okay and that it's normal. And I think the more you try to fight it, the more it becomes
worse.
It becomes worse. And it's really like, you're nervous because you care about what you do, and that's really important. Like, you should care about what you do. And yeah, I think, you know, I also even with Boiler Room, actually, I wanted to, you know, I haven't said this publicly before, but I wanted to take some prescribed medication to try and calm my nerves. But when I tried them and I practiced the DJ set with them, and I was like, this is so weird, like I don't feel anything. And so I needed those nerves to be on point, like really to be just with my attention at its fullest. So I just didn't take anything and went in completely, as I said. There's just that little mental note at the beginning, you either have this or you don't. So, and just go for it, you know. It's one of those things. And honestly, the nerves still to this day, it never goes away. Every time I perform, I get nervous. It goes away like after maybe like a couple of tracks, and then I'm in. It's just about establishing the relationship with the crowd. It's like, okay, let me just suss, who are these people? Where are we going tonight? And are they feeling it? And are they feeling the vibe? And then when you've got that, it's just kind of like riding a bike. Like, it just feels like, okay. Yeah, but did that answer the question?
Yeah, totally. I mean, sometimes I also just decide to lock eyes with a couple of people from the front row to be like, okay, like, we're in this together. You know?
That's it. Yeah, and you know, that's you make a really important point, because something that is super important when you're on stage is looking up. Like, you need to look at your crowd. And sometimes, even myself, even to this day, I can really get in my head and be looking down, and I have to say to myself, look up. Like, you just have to push yourself to do it. Lock eyes with someone, smile. You know, because when you're like looking down and you're just in your head, and then you're just you're gonna get lost in. You're just gonna dig yourself a deeper hole.
Yeah, inside the moment. It's also something about the self-knowledge. You are there, you need to know, okay, I'm nervous, but I know how to deal it. It's all a mental process, right? It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a mental, and it takes practice. Like, I always, so I mentor a lot of students, DJ students, and I tell them, whenever you're DJing at home, I know you might feel ridiculous, but pretend there's a crowd in front of you, because you need to be able to multitask doing a transition, thinking about what's the next step at the same time as engaging with your crowd and figuring out whether they're liking this and figuring out whether the next track you've chosen is actually the right decision. So you're having to do a lot of things at the same time. So having that practice even at home, as ridiculous as it might seem, just do it because it's going to help you.
Talking about the next song, I'll just skip a little bit our plan, but talking about the next song, this is something that some of the beginners, the girls who are starting, they ask or they do is, oh, I have here all the list of the songs I'm going to play in this order because I check and they are harmonic and I like it and I listen before I train and etc. So they have at least 10, 15 songs planned there. Do you do that? You start to doing that? What's your recommendation about that? I have my opinion too, but you are here to listen to you about it.
I think that it really depends on the DJing style that you do. For my personal approach, I love to create routines, and so I work really hard on knowing which tracks go really well with which tracks. And then what I'll do is I'll have a plan, but sometimes I'll read the crowd and know that I need to jump like a few steps. It's not necessarily going to be exactly A to Z. And if I think I need to go somewhere from Z to, you know, it's gonna, you just, and that's another thing you should practice at home is just give yourself a challenge. Pretend that the crowd that you're playing to is not liking what you're doing. What are you gonna do? And do that at home and learn how to really, just get out of tracks, get into new tracks. Once you understand your tracks as well, once you really have an ear for your tracks, you're going to know which one will go with what. So it's really, really important to know your tracks. And going back to back with someone is a really great way of challenging yourself to think on the spot. So I often meet up with people to go back to back. That usually helps a lot with trying to think on your feet.
Perfect. So you're going to close the doors and have the moment of the break. I don't know if everybody's listening. It's interesting. We can make a break. Yeah, it's good. I'm checking the comments while that too. Can do a small break for them.
Yeah.
We come back for the break. I really like that here in my house. I listen very strong 5 times by day. The pray. It's a moment to connect with the reality, with the life, the world outside the house. You know, it's very interesting. Okay, let's move forward in the questions. You want to go to the next one?
Sure. I mean, I guess still related to the sharing knowledge part. What would be your advice to any kind of woman who would like to start DJing or producing or just getting into music? What would be the thing that you would tell, actually?
I think first of all, like getting yourself actually doing the research first is really important, because you want to kind of know whether you're going to be able to afford it. It's not exactly the most accessible practice. It's quite expensive. That's why it's taken me so long, and I think that's why it takes a lot of people a really long time to break through. There are ways of breaking through, like on the cheaper side, depending again on your access in the country that you're in, what your country, like city or country, provides as a service. I would suggest getting a small controller that you can use at home. It's not necessary, actually. You can just use the software on a laptop, and then if you don't have access to those things either, you could see if there's any local practices near you, like Sound Sisters, that would be able to provide a space, or somewhere that you can hire, or get some lessons. Lessons are really important when you've got someone to just show you the ropes, because it can really speed up the process. And then just thinking about, as I said, going back to the research, so thinking about what it is that you want to mix with, what type of music, and I would say also don't limit yourself. Explore and try not to fit into something. Just really try to do something that you're passionate about, because if you get stuck, if you say you want to do techno because you think that there's a gap in the market for techno, which there definitely isn't, because it's so like oversaturated, but if that's your the way that you're approaching something, I'd say that's not the right approach. Just go for something that you're genuinely going to be super happy to play on stage, and you're not going to get bored. And that's why I moved out of the drum and bass scene into multi-genre mixing, because it just means that I don't need to get bored anymore. Like, I can really just pick things that I genuinely want to play, and I don't necessarily play like the most trending track if I don't like it. Like, if I don't connect with the song, I'm not going to play it, because like it's just gonna I'm not going to connect with it, and it's going to show. So it needs to be something that you connect with. That's the first thing. Once you start to get some form of basic equipment, and if you can't access the basic equipment, just using the software on your laptop, like Rekordbox is free. And I would start with Rekordbox, because it's the software that is usually synced with Pioneer CDJs. And yeah, as I said, if you can't access that as well, try to find someone, maybe reach out on social media, see if there's any friends around who are DJs who are already doing it that you can maybe join with and practice with, and ask them to give you a couple of hours of their time to show you how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's really good advice already. And the thing of, I guess, one of the worries that I hear is also, and I when you start, you always worry about, I mean, are they gonna like what I do, and you mentioned it very well, that in the end you have to like what you do, right? And then it's the way that then you give a message that it will work. You know what I mean? It will work. If you love what you do, it will work, and if it's for the good reasons, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is also, yeah. And it's a nice bridge into like the promotion and the visibility part, right? So, okay, so now I've picked my tracks, and I'm doing something that I love. And then how do I start gaining visibility? How do I start sharing my message? How important is the message as well? I think this is also something that's should be considered. So how was it for you? I mean, you talked about Boiler Room, obviously. But how was it for you to start, you know, becoming successful and visible and
So I would answer that with, I mean, first of all, upload mixes onto SoundCloud or Mixcloud so that people, if you're reaching out, if you're sending emails asking for gigs or opportunities, somebody can pretty quickly go and listen to your mix on the go. That's super important. Don't send your mix file because no one's going to listen to that. Nobody wants to download a large file. Send them to SoundCloud, send them to Mixcloud. If you don't want to put it out publicly, you can make it a private link, send it out to the promoter, send it out to radio stations. Think about your bio. So how would you introduce yourself? You know, back in when I was starting, I literally used to hand out CDs. Like that was, you know, as far back as I go. But now it's so much easier with social media and yeah, just look at local radio stations, look at who is putting on events around you, reach out to them, say, hey, is there any opportunities, can I open? Because you'll always start opening up, warming up for someone as a beginner DJ. And think about that as well, like think about the different types of sets that you might be performing with. Like if it's a warm-up set, it'll probably be more chilled. If it's kind of just before the headliner, it will be energy, but not as high energy as the headliner. So you can also prepare some different styles of mixes to send out to promoters so that they can see that you understand how a night could work. Sometimes nights don't work like that, and it's just really about the individual artist. It's not about a warm-up or a headliner. It's just, you know, it just starts like that. And yeah, as I said, find community. That's the most important thing, because doing this alone is so difficult, and it already feels like it can really feel lonely anyway. And honestly, especially as you get bigger, it gets lonelier. And so I would say really finding your community is super important, because those are the people that are going to keep supporting you emotionally, and they're the ones that are going to show up to all of your performances and be your, you know, fans at the front and give you the energy that you need. You know, I remember when I was first starting out, you know, I'd only play in front of like 5 or 10 people, but they'd be my closest friends and they'd be shouting and giving me the energy that I needed to keep going, you know. And that's what I think is the most important thing about starting, is just building your community and building your network.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And then it's about people. People are doing events, people are doing things, you know, people are catering parties, so you need to go and talk to them and make them and create the community. Is very important. And yesterday I was talking about that, how lonely it can be. This path for a player, even you're playing there, but you are there. I want to be this, but I'm here. So yeah, it's a lonely path, and how much the much more community you have around is easier. We share the same opinion.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned social media as a way, and I guess social in general. And would you say that right now, in the current state of the world, to promote yourself as a musician or as a producer or as a DJ, social media is the only way to be recognized? And or how important is it? I think this question is important because we have also, you know, some of us, or we have students that are like, I really want to play, but I don't like social media and I don't think I'm going to make it without it. So I don't know if I should do it, you know? So yeah, what would you say about that actually?
I would say that there are plenty of really, really successful artists that don't have a social media account at all. And, you know, they might not be the people that you necessarily know about, but they are the people that are consistently being booked at festivals, because the promotion industry knows who they are and they know how good they are. Again, that goes back to your network, and that's why it's so important for people to know you. and that's through one-on-one contact. So showing up at events, making yourself known, getting people's emails, where can I send you a mix? And in regards to social media specifically, I think it really depends, and I think this is super important for any artist, is how do you define your success? And what does success look like for you?
Mm-hmm.
Because if success looks like for you, you know, just doing two gigs a month at a local bar, playing, you know, a multi-genre set, then that's great, and that's what you should aspire to achieve. If your goal is to have 300,000 followers on Instagram, then yeah, you should be posting a lot frequently on Instagram about your mixes and about your, you know, your stuff, and focusing more on the social media strategy through your music. So my answer to that is just think about how you define success and what you want for yourself. I wouldn't say that I ever thought about having a large following on Instagram or anything like that. It just kind of happened. Mm-hmm. And I think my future goals are just to be really good at what I do. And that's not got anything to do with, you know, and building community. I just really want to make sure that the people that I have at my shows are people that understand what it is that I do, and they value the energy and the space that I try to create. And that doesn't happen with a huge number of people. You know, that's like a more intimate setting.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned it's one of your future goals, right? Did you say? I think you reached you already reached some of them already.
Honestly, sometimes I forget. Like, honestly, I'm like, no, yeah. Sometimes it just doesn't feel real. Yeah, it's just really crazy. Like, sometimes I go to shows and even people who know who I am, I'm like, how is this happening?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a bit wild,
yeah.
But it's great.
Yeah, that's good. And how do you think you've made a difference, or in general, what makes the difference between a good and bad DJ? I mean, I guess you answered a little bit before from what we discussed, but how do you think you reach that?
I mean, all DJing is subjective. Mm-hmm. I guess, you know, we can look at it it from like a technicality point of view. Like, a DJ might be an amazing selector, but they might not necessarily have the best transitional skills or anything like that. So it's just what you define as being a good DJ. For me, I just love the creativity aspect. Like, I want to bring something creative. I don't want to mix in and out of a track. So I play live with hot cues, with vocals, with acapellas. I use different types of skills. I'm really into hip hop, so I try and bring in that style of mixing into what I do. And I'm really also obviously come from a drum and bass and a rave background, so I try and bring that type of high energy chopping style into the way that I mix. So I have a fusion of different cultures that show up in the way that I mix, which makes it really interesting, I think. And it's also about musicality, and you know, there's a debate as to whether stage presence is important. For me, I think it is, but for many other people, they don't think it is. Some people think you shouldn't even be able to see the DJ, you know. So whereas with me, I want to have that experience of sharing the energy with my crowd and sharing the emotional side. You know, I think that what I try and create is a space that feels like it can be healing in a way. So it takes a lot to carry the energy in that room, and that's what I think I bring best to the table, is a multitude of the good mixing, the production, plus on top of that the stage presence. But I wouldn't sit here and say that makes me a better DJ than somebody else. That it just is how you define good DJing, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, totally. But I would also say there's something that for me kind of struck when I discovered in your music, also Nuria and so on, was also kind of, listening to tracks that you've listened to growing up with your parents, and then being like, what? And so, of course, I don't want to say reviving it, but it feels a bit like that, right? So I would hear a track that I know my parents would listen to, and then it would be remixing to a hip hop, drum and bass like vibe, and that's a feeling that I think it feels a bit like home, totally actually. But home that speaks to me because it's also new with the new approach of music, electronic music, which is something that I love. So I think that on top of course what you mentioned, one thing was really about maybe it's blunt to say, but like giving a new life to Arabic music, maybe in the electronic music scene. And I mean, for me, that was definitely something that I was like, okay, wow, like someone is doing that. That's amazing, I don't know, how was it for you? How do you see this kind of new era coming, or is it a new era? Was it always there? How did that develop in general, the Arabic electronic music scene, let's say? And what's the future? What's the future of it from your point of view? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think I have to admit that it's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that obviously, I think we have to somewhat also question why we've been given so much validity now that it was shared on a Western platform. So I just want to give credit to the communities from the region that have been doing this for years and don't receive the credit they do from a, like, I guess, mainstream perspective. And there's also people from the region that don't want that credit at all. They're very happy being in the pockets that they've built, in the communities that they've built. And there's a variety of different styles, I guess with this, me in particular, I'm trying to do is, yes, give nostalgic Arabic tracks new life in a very club sound, specifically a very sort of UK underground sound, which I don't think has been necessarily done much before. So that's something I think that's new. With Arkab al-Hantour, it went viral. A lot of people love that, and that is UK garage, UK bass. It's really influenced from that, although most people think it's techno, which is not. It's not techno. So yeah, it's also, with myself, I'm bringing in Jersey club and Brazilian funk and a lot of the genres that you find in more like club scenes rather than like a festival scene, where you would have more house or techno and stuff like that. So I think what I'm doing is creating something really fun, but with the original music that I'm making, it's just wildly different. Like, so I see myself as hopefully just being able to be an artist that can release things that are super versatile. Like, I don't want to stick to a certain sound, and I love the idea of just creating whatever it is I'm feeling in the moment. And yeah, some people have said I've created my own genre with this, so it's something that I'm trying to do. But yeah, again, I just want to give credit to the people that have been building incredible scenes from the region and within the diaspora, who've been doing this for years and have really forward-thinking stuff. Dina Abdul Wahid, Lilian Shleila, Tletifaz, like these kind of people, they've been doing this for time, and yeah, I think people should honor us as a scene rather than as individuals, and do our best to support everybody that makes it what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you've all done an amazing work in that. So congratulations, really. Yeah, very, very cool.
This makes me think a lot now about why you choose to pay attention on things that was here every time, like the community, but you just put, oh, okay, now it's big because it's big outside. It has been here a lot. As you talked about Brazilian funk, is the same there in Brazil. As you know, I'm Brazilian, so it's the same. We're like, oh, it's here, but suddenly someone is playing Brazilian funk in Europe. Oh, now it's big. It's a big thing in Brazil for years and years, and you just look to that with good eyes when another country are looking to it too. So it's important to support, reinforce, be there, and put the credit on the scene that's making it for a long time. It's a very interesting point.
Definitely, yeah.
I think for this point of view, I'm thinking now about it. Very good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we're already a little bit over our planned time, but it's anyway amazing conversation. So I hope you can stay just a little bit more with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we had some questions come through, so I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one last question from our side, and then we can, while Maria looks at the questions on the chat. So, I mean, Sound Sisters is not a secret. It's focusing more of having more women DJs or anybody who identifies as a woman DJ in the music scene. Of course, now it's mainly focusing on DJing. Can be producing in the future. There's no real limit. But because we definitely see a lack of that when we look at festivals and lineups in general, I guess. I mean, all of the work that you've been doing is definitely part of the movement, and we are inspired by that, and we also want to make an impact in that. But what would you say from your experience now being in the scene and being in the industry for longer, being more, let's say, visible, more successful? What is the biggest challenge you have seen in the industry, actually? And how are you dealing with that?
Oof. A big question.
I know, sorry.
I don't know, there's so many challenges. I don't know what the biggest one is. So I guess if we're talking about the perspective of being somebody that has gained success, the biggest challenge is, you know, the industry will eat you alive. So if you can be hot 1 minute and gone the next. So it's really about trying to stay relevant. So trying to always, be there. But I think the way that I'm trying to approach it personally is just focusing on building a fan base that is based on community, that will feel like loyalty in the long run. And also just being quite just like choosing where I play and who I'm playing for. I think sometimes with Arabic music or North African music or just music from the region, sometimes from like a Western lens can be orientalized and kind of put in front of the wrong audience. So it's about also being quite picky about where I play, making sure that it's not a space that will feel orientalist in any way. And yeah, I want Arabic music to appeal to everybody. I think it should, but there is a difference when you hear the audience singing the lyrics back to you, and there's an understanding, there's a cultural understanding there of like the relevance, the nostalgia, that connection that you can have with a crowd that understands the context of the song, can be way more rewarding. So I try and stick to that. So that's one of the challenges. The other thing is also navigating when you get to this level, and even when you're not really at this level, like, do you need a booking agent? Do you need a manager? Those things are really important. I have recently acquired booking agents because they make it way easier for you to navigate a fee. Sometimes what can happen is that it feels very personal when it's the artist asking for the fee. But I think you need to think about whether it's giving you value to have an agent at the level of your career. Like, will they bring you more gigs? That is their responsibility, to bring you more gigs. And what kind of gigs are they bringing you? So making sure you're aligned on your values. And then knowing whether you can have a relationship with them that is going to bring you enough work that you don't feel the percentage that they take. An agent usually takes between 10 and 15% of your fee, or they will just add it on top of the fee. So it's just about thinking about that. Then you have the issue of having a manager. Do you need a manager? The manager will look at more about your like creative strategy, and they'll usually take 20% of everything. So if you make a track, they'll take 20% of that revenue. If you do a radio show, they'll take, and you get paid for that, they'll take 20% of that. They'll also take 20% from what the agent, the booking the agent. So you'll have 35% taken from the actual gig. So it's about thinking strategically for yourself. Is this manager going to take me to the next level? Do I need one right now? And also, if the manager isn't what you need, then maybe you do need an agent. Sometimes it is really helpful. Sometimes it's not. So, and usually these things, these relationships, you can establish like a 3 to 6 month trial. So there's no like commitment.
Yeah, it's a complex world.
It is, and no one teaches you these things actually. Yeah, and exactly. I really wish that there was more resources out there for musicians to understand the business side of being a musician, because that's honestly really hard, and it's something that I'm having to learn on the way and still making mistakes. And
yeah, I mean, this is something that you also discover along the way. You have to be your own artistic director, you have to creative director, you have to be your own manager, your own promoter, your own creative designer, your own everything. So
you need to do your flyers, you need to go for your gigs, you need to it's a lot of technique,
a lot of work.
It's worth, no? I think
it's definitely worth it, for sure.
But it's a struggle, especially when we are a woman in the industry.
Do we have a question?
Yeah, I have an interesting question here. I found that one.
Cool.
Real Magana is asking how to remain authentic through this process. I think it's an interesting thing, because there is a lot of DJs doing the same thing always, and how I can make this difference, no, and be authentic on my style, on my purpose.
I think again, going back to the point that I made earlier, is whatever it is you do, you have to believe in it. And if you don't, then you're not going to remain authentic to the process, and it's going to show eventually. And you need to have, really figure out the reasons why you want to do this. Like, if it's just for fame, I mean, it probably is not going to be a great trajectory. But if it's more about, as I said, one of my goals is I just want to be the best that I can be at what I can do. And that doesn't mean the best. I mean, I want to be the best that I can be. So always just not putting that pressure on yourself as well, because there isn't any other of you. You are what you bring, and don't think too much about competition. You can get really, overwhelmed by that. So just really focus on what it is that you want to do. And that authenticity will show if you're just focusing on truly what you're passionate about. So it's about figuring that out and allowing that to change. Like, you can just not put the pressure on yourself to not fluctuate, to not change your mind. We are always changing, we're always learning. So allow yourself to adapt, and that is, I think, what will show your authenticity to your craft.
All right. Nice comments. Anything else we have? that you found?
Yeah, so the girls tell me to look the comments. I'm looking here, but I think that's will take more time. Yeah.
Okay.
That is okay. Okay, isn't that's one of the girls? If you are able to answer the last one from the girls from Sound Sisters, she's asking, how do you see your music style evolving in the future? If you have something planned, maybe there's no answer yet, but
spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, how do I see my again, going back to this point of allowing yourself to be human in this process. I think something that artists go through a lot is we're looked at as performers and not human beings with values, with ethics, with emotions, with things that change. You know, physical health changes, mental health changes, the way you view the world changes. So I really wish that, or I hope that audiences bring that kind of empathy with an artist, is just working with them to allow them to bring something fresh to the table. You know, I definitely, what I was producing 2 years ago is not what I'm producing now, and what I will produce in 2 years is not what I'm producing now. And I think people need to understand that about artists and value that, and actually be excited to go on the journey with the artist, because you're literally watching somebody grow and change and adapt their worldview, all of these things. So what is the future of my music? Whatever it is. You know, yeah, I'll see. I don't even know. I'm just allowing the creativity to flow, because once you start to put to start putting so much pressure on yourself to become something, or to become, you know, the best or whatever it is, like, remove all of that pressure from yourself, because it's not realistic, and it's only actually hindering your creativity. Like, look at the opportunity of growth being something, and the unknown actually being something exciting. And that road of discovery is what should motivate you.
Definitely.
Amazing, yeah. You're going to see where your career is going to be, and you're going to be there watching and being party with you. One of the girls just said here, thank you, was very inspiring, and we agree. It was very interesting, very good to have you here with us. Thank you for your time, your availability, and we hope to see you soon in Morocco as well, of course. And
yes, inshallah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Big love.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Some people are asking, we are going to post in our feed, so if you missed the beginning, you can see later, so it's going to be there. I think that's it.
Yes.
Amazing afternoon with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
See you. Okay. So we're going to stop here. Thank you everybody to watch. We are going to post on our Instagram everything, so we're going to be able to see or to watch anything you lost. And yeah, it was very inspiring. I can't speak anymore.
Thank you for all your comments and your questions, and see you for the next.
Can I show something?
What?
Look this.
We have a new t-shirt.
So,
can you see?
Soon in the Sound Sisters store close to you. Oh no, let's see. But yeah, you can see. Thank you guys. Nice shopping. Salama, shukran.
Salama.
How do we stop it?
I think.